Hi, hi y'all. I'm like, not the distractions in the background. We don't have time for that. But shout out to the Zen meditation vibes going on. Um, Sometimes you just need to take a breath and breathe. Um, Working on my website, and I was catching up on some of the tasks that I needed to do the other day. Um, and basically, what I needed to do was you know, get the mock-ups, start the YouTube. I mean, not the YouTube. The Instagram, TikTok pages, and start posting on there. And I've been using ChatGPT. I'm not gonna lie, ChatGPT kind of been coming in clutch a little bit. Um, just get a little comfortable. Don't lie. It's right here. But yeah, ChatGPT been coming in clutch. And the thing is, I've heard a lot of people talking about it in the last year or so, but it's another thing to actually have a reason to use it. Because I know like some people do like the video generations and stuff like that and whatnot. And I mean, I've been using it for interesting reasons, but creative stuff, of course. And so I was like, all right, I've been using the captions to come up with different ways to I've been using ChatGPT for coming up with different ways to use the caption and for like IG, TikTok. And so now I just got to figure out like video generation because right now I'm just using like images of the mock-ups until I can order all the samples and create like visuals with the samples. That way I have like more compelling content and what's the name? Basically, I'll have like more compelling content and, just content that reaches the demographic of people who, get it, get the whole like not too much on me, but then also like metaphysics and, enjoy like the swag and the colors and the style and everything. Because I have a Hamsa hand design on the back, and the Hamsa hand is a symbol of protection. So it's like a Hamsa hand on the back of the t-shirts and the hoodies as a means of protection. And yeah, I'm just just working everything, all the tasks. I mean, even ChatGPT came up with the like whole like marketing plan and like the things that I need to work on and what I need to do and what needs to go on social media and the posts to release and and stuff like that. So I'm just like really getting into the like whole chat GPT. Technically I'm using Grok, but I feel like chat GPT is the colloquial like word for it or whatever. And so yeah, so I've been doing that. I've been focused on that, and that's something that I'm working on right now. But I just wanted to take a second to live stream and really, because I'm just getting back into the swing of live streaming for real, and doing so just to kind of like set the tone of like the energy that I'm working on and just like mastering, um, you know, my marketing abilities and really just like putting myself out there and just getting used to talking about the things that I don't like, things that I do like. And then people to have a way of just like having, being able to connect with me and see how I am and like how really real I am. Um, so Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's been going on. I caught up. There was work that I wanted to do on Monday, but I was mainly focused on like my application process and like applying for jobs and like connecting back, calling stores and just seeing where the status is, applying to new places, checking the status of old applications and stuff like that. But in the meantime, I'm on my own, something that I'm in control of, something that there's no limit, and the sky's the limit, really. When it comes to like who could be the reach that I can connect with when it comes to like my online store. And the thing is, like, I've done this so many times, and I've built the stores and designed the merch and put the websites together and all these things. And the thing that I feel like I've lacked with was marketing. So I'm like, okay, I know that that's something I really gotta like push through and like master. Like, no marketing. I mean, like really pushing social media, pushing the brand, posting, and then like figuring out ads, investing the right amount, or just like finding ways to like organically like build up and like have the page like really like blow up and you know and beat the shadow bans and the algorithm, you know, gatekeeping and all that stuff, and really just, get through all that stuff and really reach the demographic that, you know, would appreciate the what I have to offer, and appreciate you know, just what it is that I do, and what the swag is, what the merch is, what the music is, the designs, like the sayings, like, and just like be authentically me and really just connect with the right people. Like what I'm working on. Yeah, so that's that. But I wanted to get on here and talk about something different. I did want to highlight that though. Um, and yeah, I'm still kind of like on my talks as like a woman, just in my third, as I turned 30 this year, and made new discoveries of the things that I can do, um, and just like learning about superpowers that I have, and like really mastering them, and doing so in ways where it helps other people. And yeah, but be helping myself for real. I mean, I'm kind of balancing both. I'm going through it a little bit as I'm trying to get my life together, but then also like trying to like help and save the lives of others. Ooh, bless me. But anyway, I just had thoughts about like, just trying to navigate this space as a woman. And again, like specifically like a 30-year-old woman with no kids, like single, not in a relationship, not married or anything like that. Not yet, at least. And just like, but once I get to that point, like, what does that look like? What does that life look like? Here's my new furry friend. Um, his name is Jaden. It's such a human name, but I call him Cutie Patootie because he is very much a cutie. Hi, cutie. I have a new cat friend. Oh my gosh, and oh that hey, he be licking people hair. All right, back up. Come on. Can you stop licking me, please? Oh my gosh, you too big for this. Why are you going on at the edge of this couch like you got the space too. And he's a chunky one too. Oh my gosh, look at this one. I might have conjured him over here. Oh my goodness. He's so cute though. And he's friendly. But anyway, I wanted to talk about just like, life, navigating life as a 30-year-old childless woman. And, for me, like, I mean, I see this as work because I'm, working my magic of it all. Um, Not him sitting right here. Jaden, can you move? Honey, I need you to move, darling. I'm sorry. And he too big for me to pick up. Come on, sit over here. Okay, sit here. All right. All right, just sit right there. You're too cute. You're too cute of a distraction, and I'm trying to focus right now. Oh my goodness. I mean, he's great to have around. Oh my gosh, hold on. Oh my goodness. Jaden, you gotta move, chunkster. All right, just sit right here. Yeah, just sit right there. Okay. All right, you can sit right there, and I'm cool with it. Maybe, maybe not. Actually, actually, you gotta sit somewhere else because I'm just sit right here. Okay. All right, just sit right there. Right there. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. But just sit down. All right, or run away. Whatever. Adorable. Adore that cat. But anyway, Lord, stuff together. All right, we're 12 minutes into this thing. I wanted to talk about life as a 30-year-old woman, a black woman specifically, without kids, and just like focused on myself. I started these live streams like 2 days in a row, and I've got on tangents, basically like ranting about, you know, conspiracy conspiracy facts, and just like the things that goes on in my life. Um, as Nerisse, the modern day superhero with magical powers to time travel and bring people back to life. Oops, did I say the quiet part out loud? But yeah, it's an interesting space to be in. Yeah, I have to say it out loud because if I don't, then my life would be some type of hidden myth mystery, and I have to document these things. Even if people think I'm crazy now, but if there's anybody to tell my story, it should be me. And I started working on this book. A lot was going on at that time, and I've kind of been out of that space just because so many other things have been going on that hasn't really like that conversation really hasn't even been relevant for a while, which I'm grateful for. I mean, I don't mean it's not like there's still challenges that I deal with, sometimes. But my main focus has just been like getting money, focusing on myself, getting my health right, and just like taking care of me. You know, talk much about. I haven't really. I kind of see what's happening here. Something that I hadn't really talked much about has been like my own personal situation. I mean, I talk about myself all the time, but I mean, like, okay, like just certain concerns that I've had, just because, like, It's really not anybody's business. And I guess unless you're following, you would know. Um, oh my gosh, I can't get rid of this cat. The cat can stay. But anyway, like for example, um, so I have been dealing with like having like an irregular cycle, um, and sometimes I'll have like prolonged like periods, and I just wasn't really sure like what may be the cause of it, um, you know, and like I mean I've had irregular cycles before, like, you know, when I was younger, I guess, and just like learning the ways of like the period and how the womb works and what a healthy womb looks like, and basically that your body's attacking you for not being pregnant. And, and I don't know, I just, now that it comes to my life, I feel like, um, I don't know. I feel like there's so many things that I probably went through that under normal circumstances wouldn't be my situation, but because of the family I was born into, genetics, and just certain systems and things, like I don't know, because y'all don't know me from a can of paint. And at one point, when I was like starting out in my period, like my flow used to be like really heavy, um, and like I had like cramps and stuff like that. And but then like through the years it's gotten better. Like I haven't really had like bad periods where like I was in a lot of pain or anything. Like usually it would just be the cycle, and then it would end, like it would last, like I don't know, the bleeding would last maybe like 4 or 5 days or so, and then done until, the next month. And then same thing, bleeding for 4 to 5 days. Um, then the next cycle, bleeding for 4 to 5 days, and then in the next cycle, and that was essentially what was, my life from like, when I was, like a teenager, up until like adulthood, and of course, like your body or is this natural course of action when you don't have children, you know. And so for me, I was just like, oh, cutie patootie. Hey, I mean, I know you just chilling up here, but you kind of throwing me off a little bit, and I feel like you need to move. I'm sorry, darling. I'm so sorry, but can you move, please? Please, cutie patootie. Come on. All right, you can sit right here. Okay. Like, I'm trying to live stream and get my life together. Okay. Maybe I'll just put this like blanket up here. I don't have to worry too much about. Let me look over here. Trying to work. things. But anyway, but I feel like, okay, maybe I can. Can you not sit right here? You're too adorable. And I'm wearing black and white, so we're matching. But anyway, so like basically I was like dealing with my whole like cycle and everything. And then like at one point, like, like the bleeding would extend a little bit. And I mean, I was dealing with a lot of things. And at that point I was like, it was a little bit after I started like my spiritual journey, and I was learning about like hoodoo and the occult, and learning about like African spiritual traditions and Orisha traditions, just like learning about all these things. And during that point in my life was a pretty like that was a rough journey, because at that time like I was starting my store and everything, and then like the root supply, and I wasn't really seeing much fruit from my labor at that point, but I was really working at it. And what's the name? I was working on rose water. And I mean, like, the rose water was cool for a period of time, but knowing what was going on at that time versus what I knew then, I feel like there was a lot of things trying to like hinder me from like progressing. And you know, my whole thing was I mean, there were some struggles, but then like I would just keep going anyway. I would just keep working at it. I would just keep building. I would keep researching, keep learning, and just like keep putting like the blood, sweat, and tears into the and it was around that time I had learned, and I talked about this in the live stream, like just the importance of like your bodily fluids and like protecting it. And and this one spiritualist would say like, I hope that you're like collecting your blood, basically, because I mean, one, you can do your own works with it, like blessing your blood, protecting it. I'm assuming you probably do like health related stuff too, like making sure you had good blood health. And like, because I know I had anemia at one point, and they would say I had low iron. So like just doing the works to like ensure that you're um you have the right iron levels, your cycle is healthy, your cycle is blessed. And and because blood is powerful, it's, I mean, they don't have it in those movies for nothing, right? Where they do the rituals and stuff like that. And you sign a contract in blood or whatever the case may be. And I mean, I've never done that. I mean, maybe for like my own works or whatever, just like learning in the beginning of like, okay, let me write this petition for myself of like success and this and that, and working at my business. And you know and maybe I've probably done a little something there. But for me, I need to move. Oh my gosh. Can you move, kitty? I know what it is. I keep bringing you over here unintentionally. Whatever. Okay. But so, yeah, so like, okay. So basically, she was saying like, make sure you keep track of your blood, but then also don't leave your blood places, right? Because you never know what works people may be trying to do on you. You don't know what kind of works people may trying to do, so you want to do stuff that's protective. You want to like protect your blood, protect your energy, your life force, and make sure that you're doing things that where if anybody's doing work on you, it should be your own. You should be doing your own works, and if anybody's working on your blood, it should be yourself. I know it's a little woo woo. I know that's a little on the, people don't really talk much about that unless you're really in spiritual spaces. But I've been that kind of girl. I've been talking about, it's been my wave. So, that we talk about those things over here. And y'all know I really don't got a filter like that. Like I'm very real. And that's a lot. This not really a problem, but that's why you know, what Cam what's the name? Cam, not, it wasn't Cam, it was Mace. He said that's why I got the problems I got now, because we not your little niggas. Like, but for me, it's like I keep it too real. I say the quiet part out loud. Okay, all right. You come on. You gotta move. You all in the video, dancing, all in the video. Oh, I think that's the first time I successfully picked you up. All right. All right, you gotta stay over there. Okay, stay over there. Goodness gracious. And so yeah, like I'm just like, right. I was making rose water at the time. I was doing it by the new moon, right? Like based on like moon cycles. And like the new moon, full moon, like say if it was like a Gemini new moon, I would make a batch of rose water around that time. And mind you, I had these really cute like frosted glass bottles with like the rose gold tops, like so pretty. And honestly, I feel like I want to bring that back. I'm not even gonna lie, I kind of want to bring that back. But like, how am I gonna make the product? Like, my situation is a little ghetto right now. I'm not gonna lie. Grateful that I'm living somewhere, but like, the apartment isn't like the most fancy situation. But I feel like sometimes you just gotta work with what you got and like, make. I just have to not make excuses for myself. But my only thing is like with that shop that required like merchandise and a lot of products on hand, like incense and incense holders, sage, all these things. And I'm like, that's like for like, even if I was doing a lot of orders online, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe that was enough too. Like business was kind of slow and I was still building my brand. But I don't know. I feel like part of me wants to bring back that business. I'm like, I don't even know how I would do it because I would have to order products and like set the website back up, post the products back on the website. Like I still don't feel like doing all that. And I think I did it through Shopify too. And I'm already working on the Shopify store. So whatever. But I had like rose water and all these things. And like, and there was people who purchased and supported. And it was one where I did a few like festivals and set up a table and sell my merchandise, and people were supportive and stuff like that. I mean, as supportive as they could have been at that time. I think things will probably be a little bit different for me now. Um, and I haven't really tapped back into that community, like the spiritual witchy black girl space. Even though I've always kind of been that. Like that's always been my vibe. Like I've always been the metaphysical, like crystals, maybe not as deep into the occult as like some of the content that I had been gearing towards. Because I was always like surface level for the most part. Like into like keeping like Jasper or certain crystals, like clear quartz, rose gold. I mean, not rose gold. I mean, I love rose gold metal. That's my own personal preference. Like rose quartz and stuff like that. And love and protection. And with that, I didn't, but I wanted to know a little bit more though. That was kind of like how my journey started. And I wish it started differently. Like my whole like spiritual awakening was a messy one. It was like so messy and chaotic. And I mean, granted, there were things going on in my life to influence that, I feel. Um, but at the same time, like, yeah, I was like, you know, my relationships were falling apart. But I think that was all by design for real. Now that I really think about it, like me, I was already working there at the spiritual store, and well, I would go. Okay, there was a spiritual shop that I worked at called East Meets West, and I would naturally gravitate towards there because they had like Egyptian artwork and like statues and like pyramids and like incense holders and stuff with Egyptian designs and hieroglyphics. And I was always drawn to that. Like, I mean, literally, a jewelry piece that I still wear every day that I got from that store is a symbol of the Ankh, which is a symbol of life. Um, and I have a tattoo on my chest of the Ankh. And I'm also reading my book, um, The Emerald Tablets. And on the wrist, the Thoth has on a Ankh here. And then you have like the Eye of Horus. And Thoth is known as an Egyptian god of wisdom and is said to have created the pyramids. So, yeah, and a part ibis, a ibis head with a human body. So, I don't really eat a lot of chicken for that reason, as I've been like studying him and learning about, you know, the mysticism and the magic and the wisdom and stuff like that. And so I've been avoiding chicken, even though I'm a black girl from Jersey. Like, why chicken gotta taste so good? And mind you, I'm in Florida right now, so they got the pollo tropicals, this chicken spot, that chicken spot. I'm like, I ain't never seen so many chicken spots as a fast food restaurant other than this area. On top of like regular stuff like Popeyes and like KFC and stuff. But I'm like, damn, y'all got all this chicken spots, but whatever. I've been avoiding it though. But anyway, um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I've been through this spiritual journey, but I think once I started diving deep into like wanting to learn about um and because we had this book on like just we would have books at the store that I was working at, and it would be on just different um mythology and just different types of magic and where it came from, like whether it was like the Celtics or Irish, similar, same thing. Like Wicca, it had like stuff like that, like Wicca magic, and I didn't know what that was at the time. There's this black girl that I knew that was friends with my brother. She was like more into it, and so I showed her the book that I got, and I had a Puerto Rican friend that was into like brujeria, and I didn't really know all about it at first. She was really the first one who put me on the Florida water for real. And so I was going to them. They looking at me with the Wicca book like, the fuck is you doing? It's funny now that I know what I know. I mean, and nothing against people who practice Wiccan magic and stuff like that, but just as a black girl, it's funny. Because when you really start getting into like the African like magical stuff like hoodoo and stuff like that, I'm off topic. But whatever. So, you learn about like how to work the herbs and natural remedies for certain things and natural ways to heal yourself and cleanse your body and and just and bless a space and rid yourself from any evil or any ailments or anything hindering your body physically, or and you learn all these things when you learn about like, I mean, you can do that in other traditions too, but I wanted to know what the African was. And so I was at a point in my journey where I was like learning all the stuff that I could learn that was available to me at the shop, because I think it might have been owned by people who were Middle Eastern. I'll just say that. I don't know specifically, but the people working in the store who knew the most, like my store manager, she was a white girl, and the other guy, who was friends with her, who had been there for a long time, a white guy, and I'm pretty sure he was doing work to be a shaman. and stuff like that, and going to retreats and training. And so like they knew like the Hindu stuff about like the gods and goddesses, Buddha, feng shui, knowing all those things. And I was like, what's the African version of this? Because everything come from Africa, and there's got to be an African version of the magic. And I'm like, about voodoo, and they always say it in a negative comment, like it's this dark, mysterious, scary thing. And it can be that, but that's not all that it is. There are, not every spell is a curse, and not everything is something to, be like scary of. Like, are there scary things that can happen? Yes. And there are certain things where, more baneful work is like acceptable. But then there's ways to protect yourself from that. And there's ways to bless yourself. And there's ways to, you know, master those things so you can, manifest financial stability for yourself, or manifest success for yourself, or manifest, better relationships, clients to be in your business, more sales things, right? And or also to has a physical ailment, helping them heal their body, or helping them, cleanse their body from any ailments. And so that brings me to the conversation that I really want to have, because I am on a tangent right now, but I'm trying to make this tangent work. It makes sense. And so basically, I had gotten to this point in my journey where I was like, I was seeking more knowledge and really wanted to connect with the Black side of it. And through that point of my journey, I had my store, and I didn't start it the right way. I didn't know enough to even have started. And I was really in the space of like just trying to, it's always been like this fight for financial stability. Even though, like, knowing what I know now, like, I'm more powerful than I think I am, and there's definitely ways for me to manifest that in my life and not be hindered or blocked, or get out of the limiting mindset that I am hindered and blocked. There's some people trying to do that, but I shouldn't like succumb to that belief, of my reality, when I can literally bend the simulation at will, you know. But anyway, so fast forward to now. I've learned a lot on my journey. I'm still learning on my journey. I still have a lot to master. And, as it pertains to like just the ways in which the world works, understanding time and space, mastering time and space, mastering protections, freeing myself from anything, just like, monitoring spirits, and just monitoring devices, and monitoring uh people, and just like ridding myself from that energy, and like shutting those systems down, deading those systems, and freeing myself, you know that create these limiting beliefs. And so, you know basically, um now I'm in a whole new space, and I feel like if I were to tap back into that like realm of like metaphysics, and but the Black side of it, I don't know, like I don't know what that how welcoming that space would be for me. Because I mean, there were some supportive people. There were people who, whose content definitely, um was motivating for me, and taught me a lot. Like, I learned a lot. I learned so much during that. Even though it was a rough journey, I learned a lot. And I feel like, knowing what I know now, some decent but not quite, reminds me of like Queen Afua. And she has this book, Sacred Woman, which is a classic women's health book, and basically helps you master the health of your womb. And and especially helping a lot of women that suffer with like fibroids, and having a healthier diet, and a healthy approach to your meals to heal your body and rid yourself of fibroids and rid yourself of any like physical ailments to your womb, and then all the way to a point where certain people might have been diagnosed with needing to get a surgery for like a hysterectomy, and already like but when staying in that regimen of like health and eating and dark leafy greens and salads and really committing to like a vegan diet for real, then they've naturally ridded themselves of any physical ailments to their womb and didn't even need to get the hysterectomy or the surgeries or whatever that these doctors be trying to get women to do to help them remove their wombs. When really, if and not just like just food, but like there was like workouts and just like different blessings. And honestly, it worked. Like when I really think about it, like I was doing, there was this one like group of like exercises, and some of it, the thing was some of the like positions can give like a sexual connotation, even though that might not be the intention, but it could be, because I think she was saying there's some stuff that you could do with your man too, but that's like healing and kind of like different like yoga positions, and it could add like a little spark or whatever. But for the most part, the intention is the wellness, right? It's the wellness and healing, but it also makes space for like intimacy if that's the relationship that you're in. So there's like exercises in there too, rituals like taking certain baths, and just cleansing your energy and freeing yourself from any like soul ties and connections that don't serve you, and and just like doing all these things. And for one, I was so upset that I left this book. The first time I left my house, I brought that book with me. And then I did some of the exercises. And the thing is, the exercises worked, but there was something else going on at the time. And I felt like, I don't know, like I was unsure of whether the book was helpful or not. I like it kind of like jaded my experience a little bit. I left the book at my house and I didn't even bring it in my car with me. And mind you, I got two versions of that book. I got the original edition that she came out with when she first wrote the book. And then I think for like the 20th anniversary or something like that, she wrote an updated version of the book with that was just like more with modern times of, just different things that women go through today. And, and she mentioned different like contemporaries and stuff in those books, and so there were like new people that include um in that version of the book versus the old version. I didn't have that, and so and I've been thinking about that book a lot, and I'm just like, damn, I wish I had it with me. um but the thing, now that I think about it, oh, I don't know if I no, it's not on that phone that I have, it's on my other phone that's in Maryland. I might just have to buy that book again, which is so irritating because I'm like, I already, not only do I have one version of the book, I have two versions of that book. And, you know, it's just so frustrating. But I mentioned her to say the Queen of Fua, a lot of her teaching goes, is based in like Egyptian um history and ancient gods and goddesses within that like pantheon. And even though we would normally call it Egyptian, it was originally called Kemet. That was the original name of Egypt at the time. And she talks a lot about Egyptian gods and goddesses, and a lot of her healing and rituals are said with those Egyptian gods and goddesses in mind. And and I feel like I've been reading this book and just feeling like so connected to it, and just like feeling like this was just kind of like opening portals and like canceling out like certain negative spaces from my life, and just like it just feels like a book of guidance and like knowledge of esoteric things and history and stuff like that. And there's yeah, it's an interesting guidebook for sure. Shout out to those at that lifetime. And so yeah, and so I feel like that's more of the direction that I should lean into in terms of like my like spiritual journey. And mind you, I got like a bunch of books from the library. Speaking of, I gotta extend my membership with that. But you know, I think that is the better route for me, like spiritually. But anyway, um, I'm kind of like off topic here. But my whole thing is specifically that book, Sacred Woman, goes through the gateways of like womanhood for you to like adopt a healthier lifestyle and way of eating for a healthier, not only like body and womb, and like I said, just like ridding your body and ridding your womb from physical ailments and like unwanted disease and stuff like that, and just like clearing that out with like a healthy lifestyle, like physical activity, doing like yoga, stretches, which is something I need to get back into. I started it, but I haven't really been consistent with it. But I'm working on it though. Slowly but surely, I'm getting back into my routines. I'm live streaming again. I'm working on this website. You know, I'm just working on my time management. Because yeah, I'm still mastering all the things. But yeah, I wanted to, like, I feel like that's kind of like the path for me. But at the same time, like there's part of me that took aspects that I learned when studying like African spiritual traditions, like Ifa and like Vodou and like Hoodoo, that still stay with me. Like I still have a lot of respect and reverence for the Orishas, and every once in a while, like I feel like connected to them, but I admire them, but there was a bit of a disconnect in a way, like during that time, and I felt like I was trying to like force the relationship, but I wasn't really knowing the full scope of everything because. I mean, and that's a particular type of African spiritual tradition that's like based in the Yoruba tradition, and that's where that comes from. Whereas a lot of the Egyptian gods and goddesses, that's a whole nother side of Africa. So like I was like at the right continent, but maybe like the wrong location. But there were some things that I picked up from that journey. Like funny enough, recently, like me and my roommate will like eat eggs and stuff like that. And maybe I probably should lay off the eggs. But you know, what else was collecting the eggshells, and I would how like crush the eggshell. Yeah. And basically, cascarilla, when crushed up into a powder, is a protective element that you can use to like bless your home, lay protections in certain spaces and stuff like that. And so I have been collecting the eggshells, but I haven't really gotten to the part where like I've been like able to crush it into the powder for the protection. And so, I'm slowly but surely trying to get back into that. And funny enough, I found a spiritual shop not far from here. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Maybe I'll do like a little a video, do like some content, take a trip down there again, and like film and show you guys like what's in that store, on my social media account and not through my iPhone. But but anyway, shop is gorgeous. They have like jewelry, candles. They had like these crystal crowns, like the general stuff that's usually in shops like that. And they have like a whole thing of herbs, so they're really like big on herbs. And what else did they have? They had like all types of candles and stuff like that. I mean, it seems mostly like high vibes, but they did have like some what's the name, like some figure candles, like male, female, like breakup spells, love spells, that type of thing. So they have a little bit of stuff that's like a little on the baneful side, but mostly like higher vibrational type of thing. And I peeped, they had Florida water in their store, respectfully, because it looks like a dope store, and I applied to work there. And I'm yet to hear. Well, I mean, they weren't hiring when I dropped off my application, but I still dropped off the application. And they had Florida water for $9, mind you, the regular medium sized bottle, not the large one, and not the little John. The medium, I think 7.5 fluid ounce bottle. That John was $9. I'm like, y'all are tripping. I'm like, respectfully, because mind you, I bought a bottle of that recently when I was in Maryland at a Latina shop that wasn't far from where my car was. And I think they sold it for like less than $5. Like 4.95, I think, or no, 4.50. It was 4.50. They sold it for like 4.50. And I'm like, okay, 4.50 not bad. Cause I feel like back in Jersey, that was pretty much what the price was. And I know that I used to sell it for on my shop. I think. Yeah. I think it was about that price, you know. And maybe it might be, I would understand if it being a little bit more if it was sold online. And, you know, because sometimes you got to mark it up, and then like with shipping and stuff like that, that I understand. But $9, I was like, damn, y'all selling this for $9. I'm like, all right, word, get your hustle, but y'all not gonna get that from me. So respectfully. And so the thing is, I've yet to find a grocery store around here that sell the Florida water at the price that I want. Because usually, like, I would be able to get it from ShopRite, and but I haven't seen a ShopRite out here. And I mean, I know that like out in Florida, they got Publix, they got. I've seen one Winn Dixie, but that's not by my area. Um, there's a what else is over here? I mean, they got Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's don't got no Florida water, or at least not that I've seen recently. Whole Foods, and Whole Foods, they'll have like sage and like little incense and stuff like that. But I haven't seen Florida water. Not them free me out the matrix. So I'm like, all right. Yeah, so like, all right, my point in even bringing that up is like certain stuff that I've learned in like African spiritual traditions, like Florida water, um, using Florida water, making cascaria with the eggshells, doing like symbols of protection, blessing your doors. I mean, but that's not even just like specific to that. Um, you know, belief system or either practice religion, and also the practice of like, you know, doing spells for love and protection and stuff like that. That's the magic and the works, but then the religion is a different thing. I'm aware. And, you know, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. There's different aspects of that. And then even like, for example, like I had a moment, a really interesting moment. Bear with me, y'all. I'm just, you know, just doing the things where I got a machete because I got it as a not necessarily like an offering, but like as a symbol of protection. And I knew that Ogun is the Orisha and of iron and metals, and I know that that was like one of the things that he governed was metal. And so I got it with the intention to like bless it with, I don't know, just asking for his blessing of protection. And I saw a video online of someone who practiced Orisha traditions, and they said like, you know, this is what you can do to like cleanse and bless your machete, and so, or your blade or whatever it was. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So I did that. I got some Florida water, and the thing is, in the video, she said, be careful, you know, with the fire and stuff like that. So she said you use some Florida water and then like burn the blade, and burning the metal, that kind of like the energy of fire like amplifies the added energy of protection, and then also like cleanse it off and like clears it out too. So I'm like, all right, cool. Did that, cleared it off, got the blade, and lit the machete to clear off the clear out the blade or whatever. Tell me why I get some of the Florida water on my hand, and I kid you not, I kid you not, I kid you not, my hand literally caught on fire and I didn't burn. That shit was so trippy to me. I was like so shooken up in that moment. I kid you not, I kid you not, I kid you not. Like I was holding the blade. I was holding the blade and lit it on fire, right? And some of the Florida water had dripped on my hand. And I'm like, okay, shit, I just gotta be careful or whatever. But the flame came back from the blade and caught my shit on fire. Like my hand was on fire and I didn't burn. I didn't burn. There was no burning. Look, this what my hand looked like. Regular. I mean, you know, my nails is kind of crazy right now, but that doesn't matter. But I mean, I got my rings on and everything. You know, do it look like I survived fire? That was crazy. That was crazy. I don't know. I feel like there might have been like some scientific happened where like, all right, maybe sometimes I mentally downplay that moment. I mean, it was a dope moment in real time to actually see it. Like, I mean, I was totally scared, and I wasn't trying to catch myself on fire. I was really trying to be careful because in the video, the lady said, "Be careful and don't burn yourself." And so I'm trying to be careful. And in that moment, of course, I'm scared because I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm on fire." But then after like it stopped, and I like looked at my hand, and I'm just like, "Yo, bitch, I didn't burn." Like that's crazy. But then I feel like at the same time, like I don't know. I feel like maybe because it was the Florida water. Technically, Florida water is protective, right? Like that's what it's there for. It's to cleanse and protect, and but energetically, like spiritually, energetically. But at the same time, on the bottles, it is technically alcohol, and it does say it's highly flammable. So I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But you know, it was all of it. I don't know. I just it was a crazy moment, and part of me feels like I don't know, like maybe I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But it was a trippy moment for sure. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm just going on a tangent about my spiritual journey right now. And but yeah, like okay. Long story short, that Sacred Woman book, I really wish I had it with me. But you know, I think because there is a part in the book where she explains, um, you know, like the Orishas, not Orishas, sorry, the Egyptian gods and goddesses. And, you know, she goes through the different names, and she uses names that are like hard to pronounce, but not like your the typical English version of the names. It's like you know, it's like I think like the Kemet version. And so, and I feel like lately I've been really drawn. And funny enough, I've always been drawn to that. I've always been drawn to like, like Egyptian things. And maybe I might not be like an Egyptianologist, but like I said, like when I first started, before I even worked at East Meets West, when I first worked at that hippie store, the first thing that drew me to that store was their Egyptian section. That was always my favorite section to clean. That was always my favorite section to just go through. And and I had a ash catcher, like an ash burner, um, and that was Egyptian. I still have it. It's in Maryland though, in my storage. And I I think I got like a brass unk from there too. And so and the thing is, I always remember that symbol because my mom had stuff like like some Egyptian, like just like random like little brass pieces and stuff like that. And she was really into Erica Badu, like early in her career. When Erica Badu was wearing all the head wraps, and and with Baduism, that album with, she was real. You may run into her into the African shop. That was, I mean, and she still has that vibe, but it's like just different, you know. But yeah, and so my mom was really into that. And or at least I would notice those things about her, and with the jewelry and like just the stuff that was in the house. She wasn't like super into it, but into it enough for it to leave an impression on me. And I remember like just being drawn to those things. And I would always make this joke about like Egyptian hieroglyphics. And so anytime somebody would do something or say something in a different language or say something that's like easily misunderstood, I'm like, you're speaking in hieroglyphics right now. Like, or like that would be like an ongoing joke with me. I would often say stuff about hieroglyphics. And funny enough, actually it's not even a point that's necessary to say, but it's just something that I just remembered. But you know, yeah, I was just like drawn into that. And then like into like after I was working there for a period of time, and even when I had my own shop, I sold like brass unks and stuff like that too. And I'm pretty sure like maybe somebody might have bought one. No, actually, I might have kept both. I had, or I also had horseshoes. Look, um, yeah, I had horseshoes and the ankh symbol like in brass. And then when I went to that shop up by where I'm at, they had that as well. They had like the eye protection. They had eye protection candles, Hamsa protection rings and stuff like that. Um, they had like they had an eye protection candle, a Hamsa hand candle. They have like all types of protective stuff. They had all types of crystals. Like I said, they had the crystal crown on the head, in different colors and stuff like that. And the herbs, like different herbs and stuff. And I really want to get into herbology. Um, and just like all the things to like, rid yourself from any ailments and like, bodily um, health concerns or whatever, and just like naturally ridding yourself from those things from your body. I know there's different like herbs and tinctures and stuff that you could put together, like that can knock out like a flu or knock out any like you know in your body in any capacity, and like and cleanse your physical being. um yeah, so that's one of the many things that they had there. And I'm like, yo, if I when I get my money up, when I get my money up, first of all, I just need a space where I could just like put all my things and really like, I have like my evil eyes and humps and hands, and I mean even right now I got like meditation music playing in the background because that's very much my vibe, right? And the thing is I used to be really into like motivational stuff. Um, but yeah, that definitely helped push me through like a really dark season of my life. And yeah, sorry, just like had a random thought. Um, you know, but you know, yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about these content, um, but it's okay. It doesn't matter right now. But yeah, I'm just just this was another video of just tangents. But I did want to speak on, which I did kind of speak on throughout the video, just like womb health, women health, and for me, like just being on that journey, um, especially as I'm like 30 now, and figuring out ways to heal myself, ways to, and just how my body's changing, and you know remedies to heal myself, like I don't know, maybe like for like a year I had been dealing with this whole situation with like my womb and like the periods and stuff like that. um and and mind you, like I'm like on the road living in my car and all these things, like stressing about this stuff, and of course like I'm not in the best financial situation to like afford like a doctor's appointment, and really I don't trust these doctors anyway. Like I really don't want to be in these spaces where anybody has to like intrude on my body, like no. But you know throughout the year I've just been like acquiring so much knowledge, and and really getting better at focusing on the, I really want to get better at getting back to seeing through a book, and like I got a bunch of books from the library that I pick up and like skim through and just get a little bit of information from, but I really want to like read through these books. And they've definitely been helpful for sure. But I remember when I was younger, I used to read through books like easily, and mainly because there were books I was interested in, and they were like like fictional stories, that I was, you know, books that I wanted to read. And now like I more so read for information and just certain things that I'm like studying and dealing with. Like I got books on like Freemasonry, mainly because my father and my grandfather were Freemason. And what's the name? And what else do I have? I have like a book on the Constitution. I have a book on like the movie Interstellar and some of the physics that was in that movie, by Kip Thorne. And because funny enough, the thing with Interstellar is that Kip Thorne and I believe a woman that I think is a physicist, I could be wrong, they had dated at one point, but that's not the thing that matters. That's not what matters. It's just they came up with the concept of the movie based on the science first, and then it somehow got to a point where I think it got to Christopher Nolan's brother, and then Christopher Nolan did the film, and then we have the movie Interstellar, the classic movie that it is. But it started with the ideas of the science that Kip Thorne put together with the woman. Sorry to that woman for me not knowing her name. And they basically came up with the story together. Now, um, yeah, I have that, and I have like another book by Neil deGrasse Tyson because to my Neo when it comes to me trying to learn physics and and study the things like about multiverses and alternate realities and wormholes and stuff like that. The stuff that doesn't exist. But anyway, um, Yeah, but and shout out to Chuck. Shout out to Chuck Dice, and y'all should watch his special, and y'all should watch Godfrey's special too. Yeah. And where is the special? I gotta look it up. Hold on. Let's take a moment to do my Truman Show ads. Nobody's paying me to say this. I just genuinely like these comedians, and I feel like they're underrated and they should be higher rated. I think Chuck Nice's special is called Just Smart Enough. And yeah, this is a good picture of you, Chuck. I mean, it's old, but I'm like, you got a little high top fade right here. But it's a nice haircut on you. Google did you right. Just Smart Enough. It's on YouTube. Um, and you know, he out there promoting it. Y'all should check it out. It's a good special. It's funny. And Chuck is funny. I like Chuck a lot. Um, yeah, and he should be talked about more as a comedian. And hold on. I know I spelled his name wrong. And I really did a special. I've been meaning to watch it. First of all, I've been looking forward to a Godfrey special for a while. Okay, I'm like, I need him to do his own solo John. I mean, yes, take your time and make it great and all those things. I get it as a creative. I understand, you know, the work that it takes into like putting it into your art and wanting to do well. And speaking of, I have a gig coming up and I'm really excited about it. And hopefully I'm working on another show sometime soon. But that's beside the point. Okay. So he came out with a special this year. Okay. I know he was working on it last year. He filmed it last year, and then you know it's coming out, or it came out earlier this year. Okay, I want to see it. I think it might be on Netflix. Okay, but it's called Rebel with the Cause, and yeah. So check out that are dope and talented and should get recognition. No, but the thing, Godfrey. First of all, I would say Chuck and Godfrey neck and neck do some of the best Trump impressions because Chuck would do a good um, Trump impression. Now Godfrey, naturally his impressions just be on point because like he's really good with voices in general, but not even just his impressions though. Like you know the thing about impressions, I think with comedians is sometimes you might get like typecast, or if people know you to do a certain thing, they want you to do it all the time. Kind of like Jay Farrell a little bit. And I only say that because he's known for his impressions, right? But he also he wasn't he working on SNL. So I mean, he was obviously doing more than just that, right? But Godfrey as a comedian, and shout out to Jay Farrell, comedian, he's like one of the funniest dudes out there. Like, dude just be having up. And what I really appreciate about Godfrey, and a similar thing with Chuck too, even though you know, mainly because like with Chuck, it's he's bound to learn something working with Neil deGrasse Tyson all these years, and you know, being friends with a physicist. You know, like you're just bound to, even if you don't, if you're not a physicist yourself, and you might not be the smartest person in your room, chances are in other rooms you're probably one of the smarter people because you hang with like scientists and cosmologists and all these like you know professors that are a part of the show, and he's you know in that world. And with Godfrey, he's also like, I appreciate the fact that he's like an intellectual person too, and not only that, but he's very like militant in a way, and like outspoken person as it pertains to being black, or like lighthearted with it, because he's kind of like the ongoing joke as our talk. But Godfrey, you know, he oftentimes speaks up about a lot of the like misjustice and the issues that happen in our community, and not even just our community too, but also being knowledgeable about other ethnicities and other cultures and countries and stuff like that too. And a lot of times while I watch him on his podcast, in Godfrey We Trust, like, he'll have his comedian friends with him, but they're all very educated people, and come from different walks of life, and I learned so much from them. And and I feel like everybody has their own flavor and their own swag, and but at the same time, like, funny, like everybody's funny and everybody's like smart. And it funny enough, that reminds me of Amanda Seales, who I've been watching a whole lot lately, but I hope she's doing well in life. My thing with Amanda Seales, I feel like a lot of times she's understood because she says the thing that people are too scared to say, and a lot of times she be right, and she's educated, like she's smart. Like, I like funny and smart people. And I thought of her because she has this brand called Smart, Funny, and Black. And I haven't, funny enough, I haven't really like been into her sphere recently. And it's been a while. But I think, oftentimes I feel like she gets misunderstood because her, maybe how she says things is too real for people. But a lot of times she not wrong. Like, she be saying facts. And sometimes people don't appreciate her delivery, but sometimes you have to be stern in that. And in your delivery, sometimes it's not required for you to have to be nice to people and to be kind. Like, of course, be respectful, but sometimes you have to like check people and say it in a certain way for people to get the message. And I feel like, you know in that way of delivery, she gets misunderstood sometimes, but the people who get it. Like, she has her audience, she has her fans. And I was one of them. Not saying that I'm not right now. It's just like I haven't been up to date with her to say that like I'm a fan. If I was a fan, I'd be an inactive fan at this particular moment because I got a lot going on right now. But shout out to her. And I hope she's doing well. And maybe I need to, check up on what she got going on right now. But yeah, but shout out to the people, the comedians out here, underrated comedians that should be, more on the forefront, that are smart and hilarious. Anyway, side tangent there. But yeah. Okay, this live stream is getting a little long and I went on another tangent. But I'm trying to stay on the topics here. But okay, there was something else that I wanted to talk about. I kind of wanted to talk about Roe v. Wade because I like, it's Women's History Month, you know. Um, Still, and I mean the month is almost over, but and it's Women's History Month, and unfortunately, Roe v. Wade was overturned a few years ago. And I remember going to a rally in Princeton, New Jersey, back when I was still in Jersey. And I think Bonnie Coleman Watson, sorry if I said that out of order. Bonnie Watson Coleman. Sorry. She was the congresswoman in New Jersey. And I voted for her. And she was there speaking at the rally, and this was around the time when that overturning first happened. And I mean, it's unfortunate, and like the more that I go on, I mean, even in this conversation about like a spiritual journey, like it relates to legislature. Why? Making sure I said that right. Why? Because for one, I feel like the government shouldn't have any place on telling a woman what to do with her body. Like, if a woman decides that she wants to have an abortion and she doesn't want to have a kid, for whatever reason, and can afford it, like, that's what she wants to do. And sometimes, like, there are certain situations like health related, or like a situation of like incest or whatever. Either way, that's that woman's right to decide what she wants to do with her body. And if she wants to rid herself from a pregnancy, then so be it. As long as it's done healthily, and and she's in a safe space, where she, is working with somebody that she trusts, and and everything runs smoothly. Now, the only thing that is a concern for me right now, knowing what I know, is just like knowing that the warfare is spiritual. Even though what we think on the surface is, like, oh, these are just laws being passed, these are just men in power trying to tell women what to do with their bodies, there is a spiritual aspect to it. And regardless of what you believe and whether you want to believe that or not, doesn't change that the fact that that's a fact. Like, there are people in positions of power who benefit from abortions, and and there's people in positions of power who probably look for situations where, like, if somebody performs an abortion and decides that they don't want to keep the remains, look forward to that and say, okay, well, we'll buy those remains off of you. What do y'all do with that? Like, where does the remains of the baby go when y'all do these abortions, if somebody decides that they don't want to get it, like, cremated or whatever? Like, these are things that I'm just thinking about. And my whole thing is, like, I think women should be aware of that, and women should know that. And and if you're able to, like, rid yourself from a pregnancy that you don't want, for whatever reason, it's not nobody's business. And if you can afford it, then do whatever you feel is the best decision for your life. And the government shouldn't be telling you what to do with your body. you know and I feel like leaving it up to the states definitely kind of like messed up things for a lot of people in different spaces. And not only that, but there is that spiritual aspect of it. And I just feel like people should be aware of it. I'm not saying that, women shouldn't get abortions if they need to. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, you know, if you can, make sure you keep those remains and not feed a satanic system, because sometimes that can be the truth of what's happening, you know? And I say that because let me get the specifics. I was watching this YouTube video with this interview of this guy who used to be a Satanist, and he was saying how abortions are basically like a satanic ritual, and not like the traditional kind, but like people who are in the cult and intentionally get pregnant to intentionally get an abortion. And so his name is Zachary King. He used to be a satanic high wizard, and he wrote a book called Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. And he converted to Christianity. But he speaks about his experience and everything. And I'm like, if that's somebody that was a high wizard in that space, he would know something, and just because certain people, to you might be living a regular life and thinking like, oh, I'm not participating in no rituals and this and that. You might not be participating in rituals, but there might be other people banking on the energy of you being there and aborting a baby just so they can get the remains and do whatever. And that's why I say you got to be intentional and protective with your energy and your body and your bodily fluids and all these things. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I have been pretty good about it, late as good as I could be with the resources that's available to me. Like I'm intentional about being protective about those things in my period, in my body, and my cycle and stuff like that, and learning the ways to, like, manifest and protect my womb, my body, my cycle, have a healthy cycle, and be protective with my body and my frequency and all these things, right? It's a lot to do and you don't always get it right. And hopefully the more you do it, the more you get better at it, and you master ways to protect yourself, you master ways to improve your body, you master ways to heal yourself. And so you don't have to rely on going to a doctor or having somebody prime your body. Like, no, you can rely on healing yourself. I'm like, see, there could be something going on in this apartment. But you know, you can heal yourself, you know. That's why I think herbalism is so important. And learning to work herbs, like I said, the Sacred Womb, or the Sacred Woman book by Queen Afua, teaching you how to, and if you do decide to, like, have kids or whatever, do so healthily in the right way with the right partner in the right situation. But if not, like, or if you might have like some health concerns or whatever the case may be, you know, doing the tinctures and the drinks and the teas and eating healthy foods, eating fruits and vegetables and dark leafy greens and the berries to heal your body, cleanse your system, cleanse your womb, cleanse your mind, cleanse your spirit, and cleanse all of those things. And and get your body back intact in its natural, normal, healthy state, getting your body in a natural state, getting your womb in a natural state, getting your mental in a natural state, your spirit in a natural state, when you're cleansed from all the things that might be trying to, like, you deplete your life force, and you regain that energy and regain that power, because that's exhausting, especially dealing with people who are like just energy vampires, people who are just like trying to eat away at you and like drain your energy and drain your spirit and trying to get your ashe. And it's like, no, bitch, you can't get this ashe. This ashe, my ashe. Okay? This my ashe. You can't get this ashe. I get this ashe. This my ashe. Like, all right, I might sprinkle a little ashe your way if I feel like it, but you can't take my ashe. Or it comes with its, it comes with this repercussion. Try to get some of my ashe, the ashe might bite you back. Okay? I'm just saying, you know. But I'm like, and speaking of ashe, that reminds me of my ashe shirts that I was selling at one point. I might have to bring that back. Maybe we'll see. I don't know the definition, but I feel like I know a lot better now. But anyway, let's just start one store at a time. Build this brand, and then I may think about getting back to that. But yeah, like, you know, the women's health. I feel like that's so important. And Women's History Month, as it comes to a close, as it comes to an end, you know, um, I feel like since I'm on here and having these conversations, I just want to use my voice and the things that I do know to highlight information that's important for women to know, especially as it pertains to our bodies, as it pertains to our health, as it pertains to our wombs, and the autonomy over our body, our rights, um, and just ways, alternative ways, and fix our own problems in certain circumstances where we can't government, or or maybe or you might not have all the resources that may need, but with the resources that are available to you, which is your own life force and your own energy, ways to heal yourself and rid yourself from any ailments, any health problems by eating healthier. And, the whole excuse of like, oh, healthy foods is expensive. I mean, sometimes it can be like, depending on what your budget is. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there are affordable fruits and vegetables. You just gotta meal plan it a particular way. And I need to get better at that. I'm not even gonna lie. I need to get better at that. I know I need to eat more fruits and veggies and, things that, you know, fill up my energy and, and heal me and protect it, and ward away any capacity. But for me, I think the most important thing is just like sharing this message with people who can receive the message, receive the blessing, receive the healing, and can do these things for themselves. Like, reading about spiritual traditions, learning about herbalism, learning about ways to heal your body, reading Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. Even if you don't want to practice other spiritual beliefs, but it's important to know of spiritual beliefs and even the negative ones, because if you know the darkest levels of evil that people are willing to do, you know what you can do to protect yourself. And sometimes it might be a little like morbid to think that way, but it's important to not know it and be caught slipping about those things. I have those hard conversations that nobody really talks about. Like, yeah, you shouldn't leave your period blood just anywhere because people do weird shit. So protect your blood, protect your energy, protect your spirit, protect your body, you know? And some people may look at you weird, but when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. You know? Have your own way of disposing your bodily fluids. Even if you're not into hoodoo and the occult and stuff, and you ain't gotta be. But just have ways to protect your body, protect your spirit, protect your energy. And peep and know the things to peep when somebody's trying to drain your energy. And refuel your energy. And protect your energy. And ward away those people from trying to like deplete you in any capacity. You know? And be aware of the laws, be aware of the things that go on out here and who really runs these things, you know and that's ultimately what I wanted to say. That was my message. That was what I wanted to get into for this video. And thank you to the people who've been watching. Thanks to the people who get it. I'm gonna conclude this because I got some stuff to do. I still got to work on my website and I got other things that I need to work on. But for now, I hope that this was informative, and I hope that this was something that was, you know, uplifting and positive and healing, and maybe it solved some people's problems and it presented a new source of information maybe you haven't heard of. And and I wish y'all the best. But I usually conclude with a prayer, so we can do that. I didn't do that in the last video because I was kind of like rushing. So we'll do that here. Normally I would do Psalm 23. So that's the prayer that we're going to get into. And that's a reminder that I should probably get back into my Bible. I just downloaded the Bible app and I really do need to get back into it. So, all right. With that said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. He leads me on the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Hold on, I did that out of order. My bad. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on a path of righteousness for his name's sake. And though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me. My staff comfort me. God prepares me in the presence of my enemies, and anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord. So it is, so it will be. Gratitude for all the blessings and the lessons that's already been. Amen. I mean, Ashe. Much love to y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this live stream. I'll be back with another one at some point. Again, happy Women's History Month. Shout out to the ladies. Shout out to the guys that support the ladies, that stand up for the ladies, that protect the ladies, that look out for the ladies, that, take care of the ladies, that respect the ladies, that uplift the ladies. Shout out to y'all. Much love. And yeah, have a good day. If I can end live stream.